Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ultimus, and this is our Retribution Paladin Artifact Weapon preview, first look, all that good stuff. The legendary blade itself, the Ashbringer. This one is kind of tricky and cool at the same time because, and I say tricky because this is the only artifact weapon that has previously been a weapon in the game. And I'm double checking myself to make sure that I'm not giving out false information here. Thunder Fury is not an artifact. Gorehell is not an artifact. I'm trying to think of all the iconic weapons in WoW. So I'm pretty sure the Ashbringer is the only artifact weapon that we've seen in game as an actual equipable weapon. Now you might say, well, it's not. Well, back in vanilla, you could do a whole quest chain and you could actually get the Ashbringer and the corrupted Ashbringer, and it was pretty dope. But it got removed from the game pretty quickly after vanilla was done, because nobody was going to go back and do old content. And I believe it was removed. You couldn't get it anymore as of the end of Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King, one of the two. I cannot remember, but it was relatively quick as far as like expansions go. So Ashbringer has not been obtainable for quite a while. There are a few players still running around that actually have it. But I would be curious to see what an old account with an actual Ashbringer attached to it would sell for. Not that I condone the selling and buying of accounts, but just out of curiosity, I want to see. And I know of a couple well-known players that actually attained the Ashbringer back in the day, so that's kind of cool. And I like that we have still a couple of those players still playing WoW. It kind of adds some fun flavor to it, because it'd be kind of a bummer if all of the original players that originally got it didn't play anymore. I feel like it would just kind of lose its flavor. But then again, though, maybe it would add more flavor to it. I don't know. But it was an epic weapon back in the day. You can actually find some really cool stuff on YouTube about it, how some of the flavor stuff that would happen with it when you walked into the Scarlet Monastery and all that with the Ashbringer. Some crazy lore attached to it. It was one of the first weapons that would like whisper to you and talk to you and stuff like that. It was crazy. So, that being said, it's pretty controversial, I think, that Retribution Paladins are getting it, because there's the whole lore bits of, okay, how are we getting it in the first place? And then it's just a powerful weapon. It's one of the most powerful swords that have ever been wielded and forged, in mortal hands here in Azeroth. And so the fact that Retribution Paladins are getting it, it's perfect, but it's kind of terrifying at the same time. I couldn't think of a better weapon for Retribution Paladins. It's kind of cool. So, that being said, we'll go ahead and jump right into our overview. Now, if you look here, it kind of gives you, we're going to look at our stats on this weapon. So this overall is kind of cool. So crit, mastery, and then we're having the Holy Artifact slot, Fire Artifact slot, and a Holy Artifact Relic slot. So as you can see, we're getting 3 total Relic slots as of now. They added these ones recently. I think 3 is the confirmed number that they're going for. Whether or not that will make it to live, well, that's yet to be seen. It might decrease, might increase, but 3 feels like a good number, especially with the way they're going to work with artifact powers and all that stuff like that. And of course, with the weapon, each weapon has its own on-proc effect, like you would expect from a good weapon. Think like Girthlack type stuff, or even, of course, obviously legendaries. They all have that chance to proc. I say Girthlack first because I'm a warrior, and that's like one of the coolest looking warrior swords out there personally. But your equip effect is Judgment has a 35% chance to cause 4 weapons of the light to smash on your target, each dealing 171% of spell power damage. And of course that is our not on use, but it's our weapon proc effect, so it has a chance, which I like that it gives us the just percentage right off the bat. Like it says 35%. It doesn't say there's a chance. It just says this is your percentage chance. Every time you swing, there's a 35% chance. So that's kind of cool. I like having those baseline numbers that give us an idea of how often we can expect to see this proc. Wake of Ashes. Now this is of course our starting talent here. It says call down the Ashbringer at the target location, dealing 500% holy damage and snaring all enemy targets within 8 yards by up to 50% based on distance from the center of impact. Oh dang. Demon and undead creatures are stunned for 10 seconds if struck by the Wake of the Ashes. That's kind of cool. So let's get that bonus effect on demons and undead. Appropriate, of course, for Legion. I would expect nothing less. We're going to make the undead and the Legion themselves. Demons are going to fear the blade, that's for sure. I feel like I've never been that drawn to a Retribution Paladin, because I feel like I've always been more so into Warriors and Death Knights. But simply with Ashbringer being out there, and I know this is so flavor of the month and I don't even care, but it makes me want to try out Red Paladins. And especially because it sounds like they're getting some cool tricks. I mean, some of the abilities we're going to look through, I've looked through some of the talents and PvP talents that and abilities that Retribution Paladins are going to have, and I know we haven't gone over them yet on the channel. And I've had a chance to kind of look at the artifact weapon a little bit. I haven't gone over it in depth yet, so this is still kind of half blind here. But some of the skills that they're getting they just sound cool. It's just the whole idea of being a holy warrior and avenger. Like, the concept is cool, but I feel like Ret Paladins have always kind of fallen short for me in my expectations of like gameplay. But the direction they're going with them now makes me almost want to pick them up. I'm like, But I wonder how hard it would be to manage a Ret Paladin and a Holy Paladin. Anyways, moving on over to Righteous Blade. Increases the damage of Divine Storm by 5%, 10% up to 15%. Might of the Templar increases damage of Templar's Verdict by 4%, 8%, and 12% there on that one. Let's go ahead and go over here to the right. And Protector of the Ashen Blade reduces the cooldown of hand protection by 10 seconds. Oh, dang, what? Up to 30 seconds? What's the cooldown now on hand of protection? 2 minutes? I don't know. I don't know what the cooldown is going to be like in Legion. That's yet to be seen as far as like official, like what it's actually going to be. I know what we have like on paper. You can look through the abilities of Ret Paladins and we'll see what it is, but whether or not that makes it the game. Either way, that's a pretty substantial cooldown reduction there, so crazy. Blades of Light. Blade of Justice now causes a Blade of Light to strike the target an additional 1 to 3 times. Oh, dang. So anywhere from 1 to 3 extra attacks on that. That's kind of cool. I can get behind that. That's kind of a fun idea. High Lord's Judgment increases the damage of Judgment by 15%. What? 30%? Oh, dang. They aren't messing around with these buffs. 45%. They aren't messing around with that Judgment buff, that's for sure. Increases the damage of Blade of Justice by 8% up to 24%. So that's going to do more damage. This one has a chance to proc on Blades of Justice and do damage an additional 1 to 3 times. Kind of crazy. Healing Storm. Divine Storm now also heals allies within its radius for 1 when it deals damage. Not very impressive heal, so it looks like we're not going to be able to pull off off healing Ret Paladins. Obviously, I'm sure that number will be adjusted as we get more data out there, but still. Because couldn't you glyph it, or at least I can't remember if it glyphed it or if it did it baseline, but didn't Divine Storm used to be able to heal allies back in Wrath of the Lich King? I seem to remember that being a thing. I don't know if it was or not. I might just be thinking crazy, which happens sometimes, but if it is, it's cool that they're going back to that, but if it's not, that's a cool functionality, I think. So add a little extra utility to Ret Paladins, a little extra off heals for your teammates, kind of cool. Forbearance no longer applies to you, Endless Resolve. Oh, what? Just remove Forbearance. Holy cow. Wow. That's been like the big... It's an understandable debuff, but that's been the big like setback and nullifier on Paladins for a while, has been the Forbearance. That's such a huge mechanic, and that's such a huge wall and bar to play. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just, again, in making you time your bubbles and your lay on hands right and all that kind of stuff. Between Divine Protection, which I believe that's... I've called it bubble for so long, I actually forgot what the actual spell is called, which is actually really embarrassing, but there it is. And, of course, Hand of Protection. So you can't just spam one after the other on yourself, but in this particular case, with this talent now, you would be able to. So, I mean, depending on what the game as a whole looks like in PvP, when we actually get to what an arena season is going to look like, we might see Ret Paladins, or Paladins, actually no, it will just be Ret Paladins here, but not being as squishy. Like, the biggest problem with Rets right now is they literally just have bubble, and that's it. Like, once bubble's gone, they're pretty much an easy kill. And so, you know, it's a tough life for a Ret Paladin right now. I feel for you. But with Forbearance being gone as far as being applied to you, I mean, it's still going to apply to your friendly targets, but the fact that Forbearance will no longer apply to you as the Ret Paladin, that's huge, to me at least. I mean, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of this than it is, but that just seems like a huge game changer. You know, that's like Shamans being able to drop multiple totems of the same type, like we're going to see. That's like Shamans being able to drop totems wherever they want, more or less, not just at their feet. That's like that kind of stuff. That's huge. Like, it seems small, but then the more you look at it, you realize that's some major implications going on. And so I'm curious to see what this is going to look like in game. Increases the duration of Avenging Wrath by 2.5.1 seconds. Wrath of the Ashbringer. That's going to be up to 7.5. Crazy, so longer burst uptime. And then Embrace of the Light increases the healing of Flash of Light by 15%, 30 up to 45%. Unbreakable Will. When disabled in combat for more than 2 seconds, Ashbringer will break you free. What? That's kind of cool. This can only occur once every 2 minutes. So once every 2 minutes, very similar to your PvP trinket. If you're disabled for more than 2 seconds, Ashbringer's just gonna be like, nope, screw you, and it's just gonna like backhand slap whoever like stunned you. It's gonna be like, nope, not gonna happen. You just break free. Kind of cool. We're busting like some Tyrion forging stuff here on top of ICC, breaking out of that icicle that the Lich King put him in. I'm just saying. This is gonna be kind of crazy. I feel like between that, Forbearance, and Freedom, reduce cooldown on Bubble here or Hand of Protection, Ret Paladins might be a little bit tricky to lock down. They might get a little more mobile, especially considering what one of their big skills is, the one that lets them put the blade in the ground and then they teleport to it. Like, that seems interesting. This is very interesting. And then Sharpened Blade increases the damage of Crusader Strike by up to 18%. Deflection, damage taken is reduced by 10%. Kind of nice to see some defensive talents in here, not just all offensive. And then Echo of the High Lord, when you use Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, Ashbringer will mimic that action. So, that's kind of cool. Very similar, basically, to what Dancing Rune Weapon was back with Blood Death Knights when they still had it. Simply, it's limited to a couple attacks. You have Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, but those are two of your harder hitting abilities as a Ret Paladin anyways. And so the fact that Ashbringer is going to mimic those, that just seems kind of brutal. That's intense. Last but not least over here is Divine Tempest. Ashbringer causes your Divine Storm to quickly move 20 yards in front of you, dealing damage to all enemies within its path. Oh dang. And then damage of Divine Storm is also increased by 20%. Wow, so it's just going to like shoot out in front of you and then come back real quickly, and it's going to do damage to everything in its path. That's crazy. So hold on a second too. If that's the case, that's kind of crazy. So, okay, I mean, this has got to work this way, right? So with Divine Tempest here, you're going to shoot out your Divine Storm 20 yards in front of you. It's going to do damage to everything that's in that space, then come back. Well, maybe not come back. I'm getting ahead of myself on that one. It's just going to shoot out in front of you, and it's going to do damage to everything within its path. So it has to, by default, then heal everything that's in its path, too. Right? Kind of cool. Like, that's kind of cool. I mean, that's going to be, it's like a total boomerang type thing where, you know, you're just throwing it out there. It's a skill shot for sure. So if you can line up some good heals and some good damage on that one, I feel like that's going to be kind of cool. So adding stuff like that into the game where we're going to see good Ret Paladins and people who are good with that kind of stuff capitalize on it and make the best plays out of it, I think that's going to be kind of cool. So, I mean, if it works out the way it looks like it's going to, that seems like a pretty sweet ability. So, kind of cool. Kind of cool. Ret Paladins are looking fun. Just being able to wield Ashbringer alone sounds like a blast. I am excited for the Holy Paladin weapon. Just the lore behind it is cool, but there's something about the Ashbringer you just can't resist. Whether you play a Paladin or not, you gotta have, there's this respect for the weapon in Warcraft lore that you're just like, it's the Ashbringer. A little disappointed about Holy Paladins not having a shield either, so that's kind of making me like, when it comes to Holy Paladin, so I might just go Ret for Legion just for the heck of it. Play all damage classes, all two-handed classes, and Demon Hunters. But we'll see. But I think Rets are looking like a lot of fun. Between their talents and the PvP talents, and now looking at the Ashbringer itself, I think Ret Paladins are definitely going to be a very popular class to play in Legion, solely for the Ashbringer itself, of course, but once people kind of catch on and figure out what they seem to be capable of, I think we might see Ret Paladins actually take their place on leaderboards. That's just a prediction. I could be wrong, and of course we'll have to see if anything gets nerfed or changed, because anything's subject to change. As by the time this video goes live, all this stuff could change and not even be relevant anymore. But I would really like it. I feel this way about Paladins and Shamans. I really hope that this time around, this expansion, they get their moment in the limelight. I hope that they get a shine, and I hope that they enjoy being a strong, relevant, competitive class. I hope that for them. I just think it would be really cool. I know I got a couple of buddies who play Ret Paladins, and they're just suffering through because they're like, well, we're just not all that great right now. I mean, I've been destroyed by a couple good Ret Paladins. Don't get me wrong. Like, people who know how to play their class know how to play their class, and it really doesn't matter how weak or strong they are. They seem to find a way around it. But the fact that Ret Paladins could be potentially this strong sounding come Legion, it's got me excited but nervous at the same time. So we'll see. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. As a means of continuing to remind you, I do have a Facebook page if you're interested in following me there. Give you daily updates and when videos are going to go live. As the page gets fuller with people, I'll probably be more active on there as well. But it gives me another medium and place to chat with you guys, connect with you guys, as well as my Twitter, which is linked down below. All of my social media that I'm on is linked down below, so I will encourage you guys to connect with me there. I'd love to be able to have more conversations with you aside from just comments on the YouTube video occasionally. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.